Welcome, everyone, to the Boiling Point podcast. We are at episode 60, Biden's Wake. Joining me is my senior political correspondent, Gavin Whitcomb Jr. Gavin, welcome back to the Boiling Point podcast, episode 60 already.
Thanks. It's amazing.
Absolutely. Successful first year we had, and I'm looking forward to year two and, continuing to do what we do and doing some more coverage, covering some of the midterms and stuff like that. I'm very excited to do that next year in 2022.
Yes, let's hope that we will be rejoicing in our coverage instead of just hanging our heads in our hands.
Yes, absolutely. Of course, I don't want anybody to take that the wrong way. We're not taking a break all the way until 2022. We're going to be just taking about 2 or 3 weeks off, and then we'll be back. But in 2022, Gavin Jr. and I have already discussed about once a month, I believe, we decided we're going to cover one of the midterm elections around the country, talk about the two people running for the race, and give our opinion on who we think you all should vote for in that area or in that district. Gavin Jr., but that's for later. We're going to talk about right now. We're going to talk about Biden's wake. Certainly he's leaving one more than even Trump did. People were complaining about Trump's executive orders, just to name one example. And of course, Biden started out his presidency with 30 in the first 30 days.
Yeah. Well, most of them were to completely undo everything good that Trump did. So that was nice. But I wanted to start with like the biggies, like like this Afghanistan, that everyone knows what's going on. Not everybody knows everything that's going on, but everybody knows something's going on. It isn't right. And his handlers would very much like us to forget about it. But Trump's plan was to, first of all, he threatened the Taliban. If you harm any Americans, even frighten them, I'll kill you. And he used Soleimani as that Iranian general that we wiped out. He used him as an example, like I will personally have you guys killed, if you start anything. And, obviously the evacuation plan was...
Hold on 1 second. We had a little bit of interruption video. Okay, we're back. Go ahead.
Okay. The plan was what you would normally think, get our people out first, our Afghan allies, people are targeted, then our equipment, then our troops. We did the exact opposite.
Yes.
Well, everything they told us was a lie. And I don't blame. In fact, I want to commend the military, the boots on the ground, for not breaking the chain of command and doing their own thing, even though they knew the orders they were getting were absolutely terrible. They want to help people, they want to establish order, and they weren't allowed to do it. And that's got to be tough. And I just wanted to say a quick thank you to your last guest, Tyler. Great job. Thank you for everything that you've done. And I know that I believe the 82nd Airborne was part of that whole situation, and that just, hurts my heart that their hearts are hurting. And to watch that unfold the way it did, and to not really be able to do what you know how to do, because you're not allowed to do it, it's got to be heartbreaking,
Yeah.
So
now, since you were talking about Tyler, yes, it was an honor to have him on the show, and he'll be on much more episodes. Now, we did have some technical problems during that episode, and I think one of the things that might have gotten cut out of it, I don't recall. We were talking about the proper way to retreat, like if you were pulling out, like I told him, let's say that, okay, we're pulling out of Afghanistan, that's fine. And then I gave him a scenario. I said, normally the way you do it is you get, innocent people, the civilians, the non-military soldiers, you get them out first, you get the equipment out, and then the soldiers are the last ones to leave. But you get everything else first, and then the soldiers pull out. He did confirm that is the proper way to pull out of a country.
Right, everyone knows that.
Yeah, he didn't want to he didn't want to comment. He doesn't want to comment too much, because he's still active military. He doesn't want to get into trouble, of course, and anything like that. So we didn't ask him. We didn't ask him directly to comment on Afghanistan. I just wanted to ask him about the proper way to pull out, in that situation.
Yeah. Yes. And just everything's been. Like I said, I just want to commend them for what they did and their bravery. To our Marines on the ground, incredibly brave. It's crazy that the lives lost that didn't need to be lost.
Yeah.
Another thing that's crazy is the State Department and completely lying, actively thwarting rescue attempts from civilian agencies that were rescuing people, even American citizens. We know that they gave the Taliban lists of names. The absolute contempt by this administration and the State Department for Christians and American citizens is just mind-boggling. Like, I never thought I'd see something that terrible.
Yeah, preventing other flights, like other organizations, from bringing people, American citizens and other personnel home. That is what was the most astonishing to me. I'm really not surprised by. I'm really not surprised by anything that Biden does anymore. I mean, like, of course, when some of the things you're like, wow, really? But then after a minute, you're like, of course Biden's doing it. He's just a puppet. He doesn't even think for himself.
It's his handlers that are making decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. So nothing that he does really surprises me. But yeah, that was like the State Department stopping civilian flights and stuff, like stopping our people from getting home.
And then drawing attention to the flights.
Yeah.
At the commercial airline, they weren't paying attention, and then stalling them, and then drawing attention to the situation to where everybody had to board, get off the planes, and then their information given over to the Taliban. A lot of those people didn't come back.
Yeah.
The next flight. That's incredible.
Yeah,
it makes them look bad. It shows that they're lying, I guess. I think, it's demonic, obviously, but no matter the reasons that we can try and come up with for why they were doing that, none of them make any sense in reality unless you're rotten, evil to the core.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no other way to describe it.
Yeah, absolutely. Even the Nazarene Fund, which we talked about in one of our special reports, so that we try and help fundraise for them. They had went dark shortly after we had done our episode, not because we did our episode, just because of what was going on in the State Department. They got, they knew ahead of time what was coming, and so they went dark to try and pull as many people out as they could. They didn't even let the State Department know until after they already had planes back in the air on the way back, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, part of it was actually because the airport was closed, so they were using another airport in northern Afghanistan, and that's where the Taliban had all those planes.
Yeah.
Unboarded because of actions taken by the State Department, as a direct result of actions taken by the State Department, because the KIA, and that's a weird name for an airport, isn't it?
Yeah.
It was shut down.
Yeah.
Our guys left. It was done. So, but Nazarene Fund, Mighty Oaks, and a bunch of others, they didn't stop their operation. They just moved it and tried different routes and different things. And every step of the way, the State Department has thwarted them. Not successfully always, but in some situations. So, and then we have this drone strike on the ISIS, guy who planned the bombing for at Abbey Gate. Oh, we got him, because we're so smart with no boots on the ground to confirm or investigate or anything.
Yeah.
It turns out, no, it's just a USAID worker and a bunch of kids. Yeah, that's real nice. Like, it's unreal. So we have that complete disaster. Al Qaeda is stronger than it ever was now.
Yeah, we just gave a bunch of free equipment.
Yeah, the old guard Taliban and the new Taliban. The new Taliban is more like ISIS. They want to expand, conquer the world. Where the old guard just wanted to keep, Afghanistan the way it was and keep it, locked down. The new Taliban, the younger Taliban, they want to expand and grow their reach around the world. And I mean, you just created a hotbed of terrorism.
Yeah.
And then, so we have our European allies like losing complete faith in us.
Yeah.
And then after all this, while it's still going on, they praise themselves for an amazing job.
Yeah.
When everyone knows it's not. And then he has the gall. His handlers have the gall to put him up there and have him threaten the American people who haven't taken this gene therapy they call, Axine Bay.
Yeah.
That pig Latin. First of all, that decree was illegal. And I think the goal is to tie everybody up in litigation, to where some people just get it just to make their life easier, even though they don't want to. And that's wrong. That's, it's only my body, my choice when you want to kill your baby, apparently.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. That's a real great point there. They're all about, your body, your choice, except for these vaccines. All of a sudden, everybody has to take them. And we have to take them to protect the vulnerable, even though that's a small percentage of the population. And even smaller yet is the amount of people even catching it. The flu is still, worse. That can cause death just as COVID can with the right complications. So it's completely ridiculous. Are we going to lock down every year? Because COVID's not going away. This is going to be we're going to hear about it every year now until the people decide that that you can report on it all you want. We don't care. Until the people stop paying attention to it, they're going to it's going to be back every year or every couple of months. It'll be a new strain or a new variant.
And that's how viruses work. They mutate and they come back and it's different, and they tend to get weaker.
And that's also why flu shots don't always work. Flu shots don't always work, and that's why you have to get one every year, because it's usually a new strain of the flu every year. And that's also why the flu vaccines don't always work for everybody every year. And that's why some people even get sick on it. I stopped taking the flu shot after about 3 years because I got sick every single time I got the shot.
Yeah.
I took it for like 4 years straight. The first year I actually didn't get the flu, and then the next 3 years I did. So I was like, okay, well, we're done with the flu shot now. And now I haven't had it, really not like the flu, not with the fever and the chills and everything that you get in a while. So yeah, I don't get the flu shot anymore either after I did, because of that, because it didn't work. It made me sick. You know what I mean? And some people with the COVID vaccine are having that problem also. They're getting the COVID vaccine, and some people are getting sick. You know what I mean? And is the risk, and that's about what it is. It's the risk. Is the COVID illness, this virus, is that really more dangerous than putting a vaccine that we have no idea what it is or what's in it or the long lasting effects of it into your body? And that's why there's a lot of people who don't, and the government wants to force them. They want the control. They shut everybody down. Everybody complied, they thought they were going to get everybody to do the vaccines, but now people are getting wise to it.
Well, I mean, the guy who invented mRNA technology, Dr. Robert W. Malone, is being censored for saying it's not really necessary for this, and there's also risks that they're not telling people about, and it's, this should be a choice and everything. Well, they're censoring him. Like, if you look his name up on Wikipedia, it says what he did, that he's works in virology and immunology and worked on mRNA vaccine technology. And then it says, has been criticized for spreading disinformation about the vaccine. What? No, he discovered the technology, and he's saying it's not ready for that. Not ready for mass just injections with no control. We are the control group. We are the experiment, and I'm not playing along.
Yeah.
And you don't have a right to tell me what to do with my own medical decisions.
Yeah.
That's between me and my physician. That's it. No one else.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a basic fundamental human right. And this idea that I have to get this gene therapy shot to protect you who already has it. I mean, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't make sense for the people who have already had it, and because they want everybody to get vaccine, because it's not about the vaccine, it's not about COVID, it's about they want you to do what they want you to do.
Right. Lose your liberties, lose your control. If we let them do this, we will never have freedom over our own bodies ever again.
No. Well, I mean, except for women who want abortions.
Yeah. So, it's really disturbing. I mean, when you look at that, then the economy.
Oh man, yeah.
Wage gains are completely wiped out because of inflation. So everything we gain from opening and people getting higher wages completely gone. Doesn't matter. My grocery bill is just ridiculous.
Oh, it's outrageous. It's bad. I mean, we're getting I don't know about what you get, but we're getting about over here at my house, we're getting, I'd say probably like a little less than 2/3 of what we were able to get a year ago at this time when we go to the grocery store for the same price. Or, I mean,
fortunately, because of the size of my family, I go to stop at wholesale. I don't really want to say the name of the company.
Yeah.
Where you can buy things in bulk. One of those places, and that helps, but it's still outrageous. And so if I really would challenge people to really think, okay, look what happened in Afghanistan. Look at the way the rest of the world looks at us. Nobody's ever going to trust us again if we ever need them in the war on terror. Because the war on terror, it's been misused, but there are people out there who want to kill us and destroy us.
Yeah.
Who's going to give us intelligence now? Nobody. So our standing in the world is completely suffered. Our foreign policy is an absolute disaster. Our economy is about ready to completely collapse. We're persecuting political prisoners who did a walkthrough in the Capitol. There were only a few bad actors, and when's the FBI gonna admit that they were a part of that? I mean, they already said that there were it wasn't organized. They released that report a couple weeks ago, that it wasn't organized, that it was just spur of the moment thing. It wasn't some kind of actual insurrection, which we knew that. That's why nobody who has charges is being charged with insurrection against the United States government. That's why they're just being charged with disorderly conduct and other issues. So we have that. We have,
but there's still people out there that still think that what happened in January was like the worst day in history and all this stuff. I got people on my friends list that still say about it, and they try and give me a bunch of bull crap information. I'm like, did you read the story or just look at the headline? Because if you read that story and believe it, then you'll believe anything.
And like I said, the FBI came out with a report, and they said that there was no organized plan to overthrow the government. It was just a bunch of protesters getting out of control. That's all it was.
Wow.
I think it was more than that. And the reason the FBI is releasing that report saying, nah, it really wasn't what we thought it was, is because the more you look into it, well, the more they're involved, just like they're involved in the kidnapping plot of Governor Whitmer. They made their own crime and then busted people for it. Well, that's immoral, and they've been doing that for a long time. It needs to come to an end, and I think at this point, because it's so demonic, that only God can restore this. We have to do votes, speak out, stand for the truth, try and wake people up, things like that. But ultimately, we have to beg God to show us mercy, because I believe this is part of judgment.
Yes. Well, it certainly has been. He kind of gave us a little stay of execution after 9/11.
Yeah.
We banded together. We turned back to God there briefly, and then very shortly after that, it wasn't even just a few years, and then we were already doing. Now we were coming back in defiance of God.
Right.
Even right after 9/11, I even mentioned this. I mentioned this to your dad, Pastor Gavin, when we were talking about an episode that we're going to be doing. That President Bush, when they replant the tree that they planted during the colonial days, like as a man, I can't remember the word I'm trying to say. Like as a
the sycamore tree.
Yeah, exactly.
Replaced with the conifer.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And then
Like
it was the tree.
It
was the tree. It was the actual tree that we did, like that was dedicated to God during the colonial days, planted in New York. That tree got knocked down during 9/11. Hello, wake up! Right there's your sign, number one.
Yeah, it was
and then
planted with a pine tree.
Yep, and then they misquoted scripture.
Right, Isaiah 9:10. They spoke the words of our own destruction.
Yes.
And the words of defiance. It was supposed to be an encouraging passage of scripture, but the context is that Israel had a small breach of attack and said, we're not going to repent. We're going to build back better.
Yep, exactly. But
we need you, God.
So exactly. Bush, and and all his people took it out of context, though. When they said it, though, they thought they were saying, "Oh, we're going to build back better." But if you read the scripture, it's actually what they're talking about in the scriptures. They're going to build back in defiance of God, and that's not what we want. So, it didn't even take long after that happened that we were already almost kind of building back in defiance of God. I'm honestly surprised Freedom Tower got finished. I didn't think that would ever get finished.
Yeah.
I thought something would happen to delay it or to slow it down. I did not think it would get built as quickly as it did. Not that I'm opposed to it. I'm glad that that we can rebuild, but I don't want to do it in defiance of the Lord. I want to do it with his help. Right.
Like, Lord, help us rebuild. Only you are the answer. That's the attitude we should have had.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that 3-day long attitude was very short lived.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just crazy to see us so divided. And I'm sorry, but anybody who still supports the Biden administration after all these things that are going to affect you personally, the economy, just our foreign affairs and everything, this massive disaster. I mean, there's 10,000 Haitians under a bridge right now because of the Biden administration down in Del Rio, Texas. 10,000 Haitian migrants that were supposed to be deported living under a bridge. 10,000. And the crisis at the border is still happening. It's still going on. It didn't go away. We just have other things going on all the time. It's like wherever, it's like they're intentionally trying to create as many, they're either the most incompetent administration ever, or they're intentionally trying to create crisis wherever they go and whatever they're doing to completely destroy this nation. And I believe that's the goal, is to completely destroy this nation so that we'll have no choice but to jump on this great reset bandwagon that the World Economic Forum, wants us to be on. Call me conspiracy theorist all you want. Just look,
The people who can't.
and look up the Great Reset. They're not hiding it. Agenda 2030. They're very open about it. A lot of
we've talked about it in a few episodes too.
Yeah, all the major corporations, a lot of them are signed on to it. So that's where you have this public-private partnership, like China's form of government. That's why these major, huge corporations are being able to push their will on everybody, and that's not free market. That's at all.
Yeah, that's a corruption of free market. But people at this point, people who aren't seeing what's going on with the Biden administration and the COVID vaccine are either choosing not to for whatever reason, or they are just so blinded that I don't see that somehow someone can be that ignorant at this point. To me, if you're still on board with it, then you're a willing participant at this point.
Right. I think the people that just can't understand that this is, and see it all as one picture and be like, wow, this is really messed up. And they just can't get it. And they're like, no, this is great. I think that they're being spiritually deceived. You know what I mean? It's the only explanation. Their eyes are being spiritually deceived into thinking, this is the way to go. Because it's absolute insanity. So, and I would encourage anyone who supports this administration to really think, to look around you, look at everything that's going on, and then ask yourself, is this really the country I want to live in? Do I really want to raise children here if it's going to be like this?
Yeah, and don't just look at the surface. Don't just watch the mainstream media. Don't just watch CNN and Fox News and ABC. You got to do your own homework and look around and discover some information for yourself. Because right now the mainstream media is certainly doing their best. To people who aren't fooled, they're not doing a very good job. But they are doing a good job for people who are still buying it. Just look past that. Look past the mainstream media, and you can find the answers, real answers. But you're not going to get them by turning on CNN and watching during the day, or putting on the evening news on Fox or CBS or ABC. You're not going to get it that way. You need to put on someone different, and you need to go do your own homework and do your own fact checking, because we're talking truth about what's happening here. Inflation is off the charts, still a crisis at the border that no one's dealing with. The Biden administration I think that's what they're doing. They're creating other crises so that we have to deal with them, to ignore other crises like what's on our southern border and the fact that China is ready to be the world leader, and we seem to be content with yielding that position to them at this time.
And I mean, it's like, I don't understand how people can't see that the administration has handed over Afghanistan to the Chinese and the Russians. The Chinese will have Bagram Airport. The Chinese will have the lithium mines, and
then we'll be buying, and that's what we'll be buying our lithium from them. That's what it is. It's so that we can give them more money.
That's why I think it was just, who cares about all those people? Let's get out, do what the Chinese want us to do. You know, and Chinese and Russian intelligence are helping the Taliban track people down. That's just despicable.
Yeah.
You know, the people are just trying to get out of there. Let them go. You know, no, you want your blood sacrifice. You sick.
Yeah, I mean, but if you're our enemies right now, you know, think of it from a strategic point of view. You know, if you're China and Russia right now, we're all our allies are looking at us like, all right, we're not with this kid. You know, we're not with this guy here, the dumbass in the corner. We're not with him. You know, the crazy guy who's standing on the pool table right now ripping his shirt off. We're not with him.
Right.
So why wouldn't they come after us? We're dancing naked on a pool table right now.
Right.
Why wouldn't they come after us? So that's, you know, I mean, it's smart what they're doing. China and Russia are playing it smart. You know, and what's worse is they have control over their people. So they're not going to have to deal with revolts and people rising up and, you know, stuff like that. If they do, they just send in the military and kill everyone.
Right.
I think it's important that everybody thinks about that too.
I hope that, you know, there is a revolution in China against the government. But with the technology we have nowadays, it's really hard for them to organize that. I mean, they have no privacy.
We do know that there's a like a Christian wave kind of going through parts of Asia and parts of China right now. Christianity is spreading through China
and through Iran.
Yeah. Oh, really? And Iran too? Okay.
Oh, yeah. Iran has a. That's what they're the ones doing a lot of the protesting in Iran. Is the Christians, the underground church? They're putting themselves out there to, you know, they want reform. The more the Iranian government tries to wipe them out, the stronger they grow, and that's generally how it works. So
Yeah.
maybe you know, God wants to tighten the pressure on the church in America to get us to wake up. You know, because I know I'm not where I should be spiritually, and I'm sure none of us are.
Yeah.
But if somebody was trying to kill us for our belief in Jesus Christ, well, that would sure, you know, put us in a position where we definitely had to trust him day by day, step by step, and real miracles would happen then.
Yeah. That's definitely what we need to do as a country is turn back to God. And I think you're right. I think it's interesting how, you know, Christians are rising up in a little bit in China, not too much in China. We know that there's a movement growing, and I'm sure that eventually that they're going to start doing more protesting and stuff against their government as well in time. They face some serious oppression in China. But you know, it's interesting to me that we see the Christianity spreading through other parts of the world, in places where you're not even allowed to practice Christianity, you know, or you could be killed, and people are still doing it. But yet here in this country where we have the freedom to worship any way we want, we in increasing numbers, more of us are turning away from not just God, but even all religion, all organized religion in this country. And that to me is even more concerning. I mean, I want people to be Christians. I think that's we think that's the right, that's the way, that's the truth. But I think it's just as disconcerting that all faiths are being abandoned right now for nothing.
Right. For the religion of humanism, basically.
Yeah.
Man is God. I'm the God of my own world. Actually, no, not even. Because it's more like the state is God. The experts are God. They know what's best. So I'm just going to worship my Lord and Savior, Dr. Fauci.
Yeah.
You know, it's unreal. Did you see I forget what the magazine outlet was, but they called him the most sexiest man in America.
Oh, no, I didn't.
These people are literally insane.
Oh, man. That just goes to show you right there, man. I mean, right there it is.
I mean, the guy straight up lied in front of Congress saying that he didn't help support and fund gain-of-function research at the Wuhan lab dealing with coronavirus. And he was busted in a lie. Why? And, you know, Senator Rand Paul sent a written reports for suggesting him to be, indicted for lying in front of Congress.
Yeah.
But the Department of Justice is so corrupt, they won't do anything about it.
Yeah. And he's still out there on TV and talking like he knows what he's talking about. I can't believe people still listen to him. Like like you said, Dr. Fauci is, their Lord and Savior now. And I'm like, are you listening to this guy? Because if you listen to this guy and then go listen to like almost any other doctor, he is not speaking he's not nothing, literally, not one word he says is true.
No.
Except that it's coronavirus.
From one day to the next.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. People are still believing that stuff at this point. They're doing it willingly. They're willingly accepting the false information and the nonsense.
And I think to realize that our nation's power structure is so deeply rooted in evil, and then to embrace that idea when you've been, supporting that is probably so terrifying that they don't even want to think about it. So they just continue on the way or they're spiritually deceived,
I think that's a big problem in this country too, is people are afraid or whatever to admit when they're wrong. Oh, I had a bad idea, or oh, what I did believe was incorrect. People are afraid to admit that because then it shows weakness, or they think it makes them look weak. I, on the other hand, think I think it's the opposite. I think it takes more courage to stand up and say, hey, I made a mistake here. I was wrong. And now this is what I believe based on new or, relevant information. That's what we're supposed to do. Information changes. Science changes sometimes. You take the new information and then if it makes sense, then you apply it. A lot of people are afraid to admit that they're wrong because they're afraid it makes them look weak or whatever. But I don't think that that's how it is. And I think we need more of that. I think more people need to stand up and say, hey, I was wrong. This is what I think now. But of course, not many people are willing to do that. We do that here. I've made a few mistakes in some episodes, said the wrong thing or the wrong word. Some of it was, all of them were unintentional. Some of them were just misspeaks, and some of them were, I thought I had the right information when I didn't, but I came out and I said, hey, I made a mistake here. This is the correct information. And we do that because we want our watchers, our viewers, to have the correct information and not just be fed a bunch of BS.
Right. Yeah, when you get it wrong, issue a retraction. It's really pretty simple. Hey, we missed something here.
Yep. And that's what
it's really not that hard.
No, and we're humans. That's what people need to realize.
It feels good. I was wrong, but I got it now.
Yeah.
You're just admitting I'm human.
Yes, exactly. We make errors. Sometimes we make a mistake. We didn't see that last bit of research, or we said the wrong word while we were speaking. Accidents and mistakes happen all the time, even unintentional ones. That's why they're called accidents. When you do an accident on purpose, it's called an intentional whatever, but not an accident. So people misspeak and create accidents all the time, but people don't print retractions anymore. They don't say, oh, I was wrong, or none of that. Nothing happens anymore.
It was probably wrong to leave Afghanistan at this point in time.
Yes. It was probably wrong to try and impeach President Trump twice.
Or nothing.
Yeah, exactly. But mistakes happen. But when you make a mistake, that's the difference between being an adult or a man, if you will. But I don't want to get any sexist. A woman, an adult, or man or woman. That's the difference between being an adult and a child, is standing up and saying, hey, I made a mistake, and these are the facts now. I was wrong, and this is what was right. This is what's right.
And then, to end on that, I was wrong, and here are the steps I'm going to take to correct that wrong.
Correct it. Yeah, absolutely.
People are a lot more willing to forgive a leader if they make a mistake and they're open about it, and then they take the necessary steps to correct that wrong. Like maybe going back and getting everybody out of Afghanistan that needed to get out. But I mean, I think it's
if I
maybe all those boots on the ground that are civilian warriors, you know, because they're warriors. Whether they were, a lot of them are ex-military, but some of them aren't. But they're all warriors in my eyes, because what they're doing is super dangerous.
Yeah.
Maybe stop thwarting them and start helping them. You know.
Yeah. And if I can expand on what you said just a moment ago even further, yes, for the government and officials to say when they made a wrong too, but just, I mean, even for our viewers, you know, if you made and made a mistake, if you did something in error, admit to it, then take steps to correct it. People respect that a lot more if you admit to your error and then go about and do the steps necessary to correct that error. Okay. And if you were in error, depending on the level of error that you were in, you may even owe people an apology for your error. So apologizing to people you erred, or even if you didn't err them, maybe you were just mean to them or whatever. I'm just saying apologies, standing up and saying, hey, I was wrong. I acted wrong. I said this wrong. This information was wrong is important in human development.
Right. And it's actually, you know, one of the basic elements of our Christian faith is recognizing that you're a sinner, that you make mistakes, that you know, you're separated from God because of those mistakes, owning up to them and asking the Lord for forgiveness. That's,
and your neighbors.
You can't grow spiritually, even if you've been saved. You can't grow in your spiritual walk with God if you're not willing to admit, you know, I lost my temper with that person. I shouldn't have done that. I need to make that right. Lord, sorry, help me to make these things right. If you don't acknowledge your failures, your mistakes, you're going to continue to make them and just continue to hurt people around you and mess up your life. You need to acknowledge your mistakes, learn from them, ask the Lord to help you, and move on and take steps to correct them if possible. That's how you grow as a human. That's how you grow spiritually. That's how you grow in your society. And if everybody did that, man, what a great society we would have.
Yes. And of course that message is. Say that again?
I was saying none of these crazy things we're experiencing would even fly if everybody in our society was self-governed in their faith by God.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I was going to say the message, what we're talking about right now is not just for the Biden administration, it's for our viewers too, and not just for our viewers, but for President Biden and his administration. So hopefully they tuned into this episode and got some good pointers from us. But yeah, this is for everybody too, you know. As Gavin just said, you know, being a Christian, it's important to recognize your mistakes, admit to them, and then take steps to correct those mistakes. We're all going to make mistakes every single day.
Every day.
Me too.
Every day, majority of the day.
Yeah.
You know, so, but as you grow with the Lord, your mistakes become less and less massive. You know, that's the nice thing. He gives you the strength and the power and the victory over certain.
And you tend to not make the same mistakes as frequently either. When you have the Lord's help as well. Because then you know, with the Lord's help, you can change. A change is possible. People can change. It takes hard work. It takes time. And it takes a continuation of the behavior that you want to change, changing that behavior. It is possible. It's certainly not easy. No,
it's not easy. That's why the Bible compares the Christian walk to a race or a marathon. You know, it's continually striving, you know, to be better and to be, you know, have the right relationship with God and those around us. You know, love God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself.
And it's not always about succeeding. We're all going to fail. It's about striving for that greatness. It's about striving for that behavior. That's what's important. It's about continuing to strive for what you want, and not just accepting what you have.
And that's the foundation of American exceptionalism. That's what set us apart.
Absolutely.
So we've lost that. And if we don't get that back, we're toast. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, I think everything that made America great makes America great still exists in pockets.
Yes.
Yes, but it's certainly not countrywide or nationally at right now.
Right. So, pray for evil to be defeated. Pray for revival in America, that people would remember who their true savior is and follow him, and do what you can do in your community to help others, to stop evil, to stand up for the truth and for American principles and God's principles ultimately. So that's all I have tonight.
Yep, that sounds good to me. This is our second to last episode before we're officially done for the season, as I've been calling it. We'll take about 2 or 3 weeks off. Well, actually, technically, by the time you've seen this, I'm already off. I'm probably sitting right now with my feet up. So make sure you like, comment, share. Please like, comment, share, especially share. That is the most important thing. That's going to help us grow our podcasts if you share our content, our episodes especially. We have a lot of Facebook followers. They like to share and like and comment some of the memes and stuff that we put up. I would appreciate it if some of you guys would like and share some of the episodes a little bit more to help us continue to grow the podcast. That's the only way we're going to grow it at this point, is if we need viewers to share our content to reach more people. That's how social media works. We need your help to do it. Hashtag the Boiling Point Podcast. Of course, when you share things, that would help also. Liking is also good. And please leave us a comment, a question for either myself or for Gavin Jr. We will answer questions anytime you have them. So please leave that. If you want to support us further, go to our storefront, bonfire.com/store/the Boiling Point Podcast. That's all in lowercase lettering. And pick yourself up a t-shirt, especially the new t-shirts. I haven't gotten mine yet. But the American Cross, as I've taken to call it, is a cross with the American flag draped over it. And then on the back side, it is the Boiling Point Podcast logo. Pick up one of them. My cousin Robbie is the one who designed that. Marcus Frederiksen handles all the music. Make sure you go check him out. His reverbnation.com/Marcus Frederiksen station. Link is also available in the description, as well as the links to, even though he's not on this episode, Pastor Gavin and his outlets, including his podcast and his Facebook page, available in the description. For my senior political correspondent, Gavin Whitcomb Jr., I am your host, JD, and that's the end.
Good night.
Love is strong. It lasts so long. It just goes on for eternity. And now you've won through your son the greatest gift. So did we.